Hi friends, welcome to Srisai IT Hub. In this video of Core Java Programming, we are going to discuss the following topics: User-defined exceptions in Java program. Right, so first of all, we'll understand what is exception. So exception means runtime error. What is this runtime error? Error which occurs during execution time of a program is known as runtime error, and technically it is called as exception. Why exceptions occur, or why runtime error occurs? So basically we get runtime errors when we give incorrect input or wrong input while executing the program. And what happens when runtime error or exception occurs? So our program execution stops then and there itself. Remaining lines of code is not executed, and technically this is called as abnormal termination of the program or breakdown of the program. So how to avoid this abnormal termination of the program? So for this we have to handle the exception. We have to handle the exception using exception handling mechanism. In exception handling mechanism, we use try block to monitor or detect the exception, throw keyword to alert or warn that exception had occurred in our program, and then catch block to accept the exception and provide the best solution for our runtime error. So what is the advantage for this? The main advantage is no abnormal termination of the program. So abnormal termination of the program does not take place. Our program executes till the end of our main program. So this is what is about exception and exception handling mechanism. So now we'll understand how to make user defined exceptions. So what are user defined exceptions? So these exceptions are created by developer as per requirement in the program, and they are called as user defined exceptions. So how to make a user defined exception? So just take an exception class which extends from or inherits from any predefined exception class. So here we can take any predefined exception class, and the best predefined exception class is exception, which is a top level exception class. So for example, if you take predefined exceptions, we have throwable class at the top, and then followed by exception class, and under this we have predefined exceptions. Right, now along with this predefined exception, I am also going to take user defined exception. So any exception class in Java should be inherited from exception class directly or indirectly. So exception is one class, and this is a top level base class. So this is how we create our exception class. So user defined exception also has three properties. So user defined exception also has three exception properties. So first one, exception type. Now in this case our exception type is example my exception. So the class name itself is the exception type. Second one, exception message. So we are going to create the exception message by calling base class constructor. Okay. So message is created by calling base class constructor with string as parameter. So here the base class is exception class. So we are going to call the exception class constructor with string as parameter. So that will become our exception message. And third one, it will also have exception state. An exception state is automatically recorded by JVM. It is automatically recorded by JVM. So what is this automatically recorded by JVM? It means which line number, which method, next, which class, which program, or which package exception had occurred in our program. So exception type is our exception class name. Exception message, we can create our own exception message by calling base class constructor with string as parameter, and the base class constructor is exception class. And then exception state, which line number, which method, which class, which program, which package exception has occurred, and this is automatically recorded. So let us try to demonstrate this with a small program. User defined exception example 1. So first let us take a new page, program to demo, user defined exception, and then here we'll take class my exception extends exception class. So we can inherit our class from any predefined exception class. Okay, but here since exception class is a top level exception class, it's better to inherit from exception class. And here we'll take constructor my exception string message as parameter, and then here we'll call the base class constructor using super of message. So this message becomes exception message of our exception class my exception. So my exception constructor calling base class constructor with string as parameter. So the base class here is exception class, and this exception class contains string constructor as parameter. So we can verify that here. Open the command prompt, go to your working directory, java p-p java.lang.exception. So we have one special constructor here, public exception string as parameter. So from the user defined exception class, if we call the base class exception constructor with string as parameter, so that string will become our exception message. Right. So now let us take the main class. So let us go for class user defined exception example 1. And then main method public static void main string of args. So let us save this program in our working directory. So we'll take it as user defined exceptions example1.java. Right. So here we are going to accept age of a person and check for eligible for voting or not. Okay. So take age of a person and check for eligible for voting or not. Now for this I'm going to use our exception class my exception in try catch. So for this we'll take here int age. So let us say initially age is equals to 21. Right, so let us take try and then catch. So in catch block, we will take my exception me, and then we'll print here system.out.println me. So this me should print exception type, which is my exception class, and exception message. So exception message we will create in the try block. So we'll take if age is less than 18, then we'll throw the exception. Okay, so throw new my exception. So for my exception constructor, we are passing the exception message. Okay, it is something like not eligible for voting. Right, otherwise we'll simply print the message saying that you are eligible for voting. Right, so since the age is 21, it is greater than 18, so eligible for voting. And then in the last, no exception, you'll not get any exception. We'll also print end of the program. So age 21, no exception, you are eligible for voting, no catch block is executed, end of the program. Right, so now open the command prompt, go to your working directory, compile the program, user defined exceptions example1.java. No error, run it. So you are eligible for voting, end of the program. No exception, no catch block. Now let us take by mistake age is equals to something like 17. Right, so try block age less than 18, true. So throw. So throw keyword is compulsory in user defined exception because it is not a predefined exception. It is not recognized by Java compiler or JVM. So we have to create the exception object manually. So throw new my exception, and for constructor we are passing not eligible for voting. So it will go to the my exception constructor string message, and we are calling the base class constructor with string as parameter. So this message will become our exception class object message, not eligible for voting. And then so throw new my exception, automatically it will come to the catch block. It will be caught by me my exception. So let us print me, it will print exception type and message, and finally end of the program. Right, open the command prompt, save the program, recompile and run it. So exception type my exception, and then followed by exception message not eligible for voting, which is passed to the constructor as string as parameter, and then finally end of the program. So this is how we are supposed to work with user defined exception. And for user defined exception we have one important point. So for user defined exception, throw keyword is compulsory. To throw exception from try block. And for predefined exception it is not compulsory because it is automatically created and thrown from try block by JVM. But for user defined exception, throw keyword is compulsory. So this is how we are supposed to work with user defined exceptions, our own exceptions as per requirement in our program or application or project. Thank you for watching this video. Do like, comment and share this video, and also subscribe to the YouTube channel Sri Sai IT Hub. Have a nice day.